Welcome to our channel, your trusted news aggregator bringing you the day's most critical stories in one place. We save you time by gathering breaking news so you stay informed without the hassle. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and like this video to stay updated. The world just witnessed a stunning reversal that sent shockwaves through global markets and diplomatic circles. Hours ago, President Donald Trump announced he's dropping his threatened tariffs against 8 European nations. This comes after weeks of escalating tensions that pushed the transatlantic alliance to the brink of collapse. If you're finding this valuable, make sure you're subscribed and give us a like so you never miss critical updates like this. Let me take you back to where this all started. Just days ago, Trump declared he would impose 10% tariffs on Denmark, the United Kingdom, France, Germany, the Netherlands, Norway, Sweden, and Finland. The reason? These NATO allies deployed military forces to Greenland for a routine Arctic training exercise called Operation Arctic Endurance. Trump saw this as interference with his plans to acquire Greenland from Denmark. The tariffs were set to begin February 1st, with Trump threatening to raise them to 25% by June 1st. He made it clear these punitive measures would remain until the United States achieved what he called the complete and total purchase of Greenland. Markets plummeted. European leaders scrambled. The European Union even halted approval of a major trade deal negotiated just last summer. But everything changed in a matter of hours at the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland. Are you still with me? Hit that like button if this story is keeping you on the edge of your seat. Trump met privately with NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte on the sidelines of the forum. What emerged from that conversation has diplomats and analysts worldwide trying to decode exactly what happened. Trump posted on Truth Social that he and Rutte had formed what he called the framework of a future deal with respect to Greenland and the entire Arctic region. Based on this framework, Trump announced he would not impose the scheduled tariffs. Stock markets soared immediately. The announcement came just hours after Trump delivered a keynote address in Davos where he demanded immediate negotiations over Greenland, but also ruled out using military force to seize the Danish territory. Here's where it gets complicated. Nobody knows exactly what this framework entails. In an interview with CNBC, Trump described it as pretty much the concept of a deal that would last forever. When pressed on whether the United States would actually acquire Greenland, Trump paused before saying it's a long-term deal, the ultimate long-term deal. He refused to clarify whether ownership was part of the arrangement. If you appreciate us cutting through the confusion and bringing you the facts, subscribe now and tap that like button. NATO spokeswoman Alison Hart provided some clarity, stating the framework will focus on ensuring Arctic security through the collective efforts of allies, especially the 7 Arctic allies. She emphasized that negotiations between Denmark, Greenland, and the United States will continue, aimed at ensuring Russia and China never gain a foothold economically or militarily in Greenland. But here's the critical detail. Hart explicitly stated that Rutte did not propose any compromise to sovereignty during his meeting with Trump. Denmark's Foreign Minister Lars Løkke Rasmussen welcomed the de-escalation, saying the day ended on a better note than it began. However, he made clear that Denmark will not negotiate on its sovereignty over Greenland. This puts us in unprecedented territory. Trump has repeatedly stated that anything less than full American ownership of Greenland is unacceptable to him. Yet the framework he's now celebrating apparently doesn't involve any transfer of sovereignty. Mark Rutte, in his interview with Fox News, focused entirely on Arctic security. He explained the discussion centered on how NATO allies can collectively defend the Arctic region against Russian and Chinese threats. He noted the Arctic is opening up more and more, creating new sea lanes that adversaries could exploit. Stay with us. We're about to reveal the broader implications that nobody's talking about. The European response has been cautious, but relieved. before Trump's announcement. The European Union Parliament had just frozen implementation of the trade deal Trump negotiated last summer. European capitals were preparing to deploy what's been called the trade bazooka, a package of retaliatory tariffs worth nearly $108 billion targeting American products from Boeing aircraft to Kentucky bourbon to soybeans. The EU was even considering deploying its anti-coercion instrument for the first time ever. This powerful tool would allow Brussels to restrict American investments, suspend business licenses, lift intellectual property protections for U.S. companies, and even ban market access to the Eurozone entirely. All of that is now on hold. But the damage to transatlantic trust may be lasting, burnt longer. Chairman of the European Parliament's International Trade Committee had declared that business as usual was impossible, stating that Europe's sovereignty and territorial integrity were at stake. German Finance Minister Lars Klingbeil expressed relief that dialogue is happening. But European leaders remain wary. Here's what makes this situation so precarious. Trump has a history of dramatic reversals. Remember, this is the same president who has repeatedly claimed territories throughout his political career. His interest in Greenland isn't new, but the intensity and the linkage to NATO tariffs represented something unprecedented. Make sure you're subscribed because this story is far from over. And we'll keep you updated with every development. Greenland itself has been consistent. The territory's leaders have made clear they are not for sale. Greenland is a semi-autonomous territory of Denmark with its own parliament and government. Any decision about its future status would require approval from Greenlanders themselves, not just Denmark. The strategic importance of Greenland cannot be overstated. The massive island sits between North America and Europe, controlling access routes to the Arctic. As climate change opens new shipping lanes and makes resource extraction more feasible, Greenland's position becomes increasingly valuable. The island contains vast deposits of rare earth, minerals critical for modern technology, and defense systems. Russia has been expanding its military presence in the Arctic, reopening Soviet-era bases and deploying new weapons systems. China, despite having no Arctic territory, has declared itself a near-Arctic state and invested heavily in Arctic research and infrastructure. Both nations see the melting ice as an opportunity for economic and military expansion from the American perspective. Losing influence in Greenland to Russia or China would represent a massive strategic setback. The United States maintains Thule Air Base in northern Greenland, a critical early warning radar station that monitors for ballistic missile launches. Any compromise of Greenland's security would directly threaten American homeland defense. If this analysis is helping you understand the bigger picture, show your support with a like and subscribe. But here's what Trump's approach has accomplished, intentionally or not. He's alienated the very allies he needs to counter Russian and Chinese Arctic expansion. European leaders, who should be natural partners in defending Greenland, have instead been forced into defensive postures, questioning American reliability and commitment to NATO. The joint statement from 8 European nations, issued before Trump's reversal, condemned his tariff threats as creating a dangerous downward spiral. These countries declared full solidarity with Denmark and Greenland, reaffirming their commitment to sovereignty and territorial integrity. Trump's tactics pushed them closer together and farther from Washington. Now, with this mysterious framework, everyone is left guessing. Vice President J.D. Vance, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, and Special Envoy Steve Witkoff have been assigned to handle the negotiations. They'll report directly to Trump. But negotiate what exactly? If Denmark won't discuss sovereignty and Trump won't accept anything less than ownership, where does that leave the framework? Some analysts suggest the deal might involve expanded American military presence, increased investment in Greenland's infrastructure and economy, or enhanced intelligence sharing and joint Arctic operations. These measures could address Trump's stated security concerns without requiring any change in sovereignty. Others worry this is simply a pause, a tactical retreat that buys time before the confrontation resumes. Trump's pattern throughout his political career has been to create crises, back away when resistance proves strong, then return to the same objectives through different means. We're committed to bringing you every update as this unfolds. Subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss anything. The market reaction tells its own story. Stocks plunged when Trump announced the tariffs, recovered when he suggested military force was off the table, then soared when he canceled the tariffs entirely. This volatility reflects genuine uncertainty about American policy direction and the stability of the global trading system. Business leaders at Davos expressed relief at the de-escalation but concern about the underlying instability. If tariffs can be threatened and withdrawn within days based on opaque negotiations over territorial claims, what does that mean for long-term investment and planning? The NATO alliance itself faces questions about its future coherence. Trump has repeatedly criticized European allies for insufficient defense spending, a complaint with some validity. European nations have indeed increased their military budgets significantly since Russia's invasion of Ukraine. But Trump argues it's not enough and not happening fast enough. His threat to impose tariffs on allies conducting legitimate military exercises in NATO territory represented something new and dangerous. It suggested that American commitment to the alliance might be conditional, not just on defense spending but on compliance with American territorial ambitions. European leaders are now asking whether they can rely on American security guarantees, if those guarantees come with strings attached that include ceding territory or accepting American economic coercion. These questions strike at the foundation of the transatlantic alliance that has preserved European security for over 75 years. This is exactly why we aggregate the news for you, to help you see connections others miss. Like and subscribe to support this work. Greenland's population of just 56,000 people finds itself at the center of a geopolitical storm, not of their making. Greenlanders have grown increasingly interested in independence from Denmark, but that doesn't mean they want to become American territory. The island's leaders have consistently stated they want to chart their own course, maintaining good relations with both Denmark and the United States while pursuing their own interests. Trump's aggressive approach has actually complicated American interests in Greenland. Before his ownership campaign, the United States enjoyed good relations with Greenland, maintained its strategic military base without controversy, and could have negotiated expanded cooperation if desired. Now, any American proposal will be viewed with suspicion, and Greenlandic leaders must worry about being seen as selling out to American pressure. The broader implications extend beyond Greenland. If the United States can threaten tariffs to pressure territorial concessions from allies, what precedent does that set? China is watching closely, as are Russia and every other nation with territorial disputes or ambitions. The international order based on sovereignty and peaceful resolution of disputes looks shakier when the world's most powerful democracy employs such tactics against its own allies. Trump's defenders argue he's simply being realistic about American interests and willing to use leverage that previous presidents left on the table. They point to legitimate security concerns about the Arctic and frustration with European allies they see as free, riding on American military protection while maintaining barriers to American trade. We're almost at the end. But before we wrap up, make sure you've liked this video and subscribed for tomorrow's critical updates. His critics counter that these tactics undermine American soft power, weaken alliances that multiply American strength, and create instability that serves adversaries more than it serves American interests. They argue that strong alliances require trust, And trust cannot coexist with economic coercion and territorial demands. Where does this leave us tonight? The immediate crisis has been diffused. Tariffs scheduled for February 1st will not go into effect. Markets have stabilized. European leaders have expressed cautious relief. But the fundamental questions remain unresolved. What exactly is this framework? Will negotiations produce something substantive or simply kick the crisis down the road? Can trust between the United States and its European allies be rebuilt? And what happens the next time Trump decides he wants something from an ally and doesn't get it? Denmark has made clear it won't negotiate sovereignty. Trump has made clear he wants ownership. Rutte has focused on security cooperation without addressing ownership. These positions cannot all be true simultaneously. Something will have to give. The coming weeks and months will reveal whether this framework represents a genuine compromise that addresses legitimate security concerns while respecting sovereignty, or whether it's simply a pause before the next confrontation. Greenland's future, Arctic security, NATO's coherence, and the stability of the global trading system all hang in the balance. This is why you need to stay informed, and why we're here every day bringing you the news that matters. Hit that subscribe button, tap the like, and drop a comment below telling us what you think will happen next with Greenland. Will this framework hold? Will Trump return to his demands? We want to hear your predictions. We'll be back tomorrow with more breaking news and analysis. Until then, stay informed, stay engaged, and remember, we're here to make your life easier by bringing all the day's critical news to one place. Thanks for watching.